We have a very low investment rate, so we invest in less than 1% of the companies that we analyze. And so it's just the math. If we're going to invest in 10 companies, we need to look at 1,000 companies. So far, we have analyzed around 2,500 companies.
I'll talk now to Thiago Domenici, managing partner at Confrapar. Talk to us about the industry of investment funds for the technology sector.
Yes, the technology sector in Brazil, specifically the venture capital ecosystem, in spite of the macroeconomy turbulence and crisis that Brazil has been going in the past years, is very vibrant and interesting. We are able to find excellent opportunities that have been proven in these tough times, growing despite the economy, with very resilient and brilliant entrepreneurs. So we are in a very good position right now because we have a brand new fund, capitalized and able to invest in these very good opportunities.
How much is involved since the beginning?
Yeah, Confrapar launched its first fund in 2009. It was a small VC fund. And since then, we've been able to grow to around $200 million in assets under management. We just launched our third fund last year. It's a $100 million venture capital private equity for technology companies. And with this fund, we brought in very interesting corporate venture investors from all over the world and also institutional investors. And we're very excited to be able to invest in very good opportunities that we have found here in Brazil.
How was the very beginning?
Well, the very beginning was tough. We raised this fund in 2008. Everybody still remembers the crisis in 2008, so it was very hard to raise all those small, but one of the very first funds in Brazil for VC. We were able to launch it in 2009. We made 6 investments with this fund, and we just finished the investment period now, and we're planning to divest the companies in the near future.
And how do you choose the companies to invest?
We have a very low investment rate. We invest in about 0.5% of the companies we look at. So we have a very broad funnel and a very detailed and thorough analysis process to pick and choose the very best opportunities. We have a very detailed analysis process. We analyze the market, the product, the financials, the projections, the competition, the benchmarks. But the main drivers of the investment is the timing and the team. We cannot invest too early or too late, and we cannot invest with the wrong team, because we are trusting this team with our investment and our LP's investment. So we need to be very secure. We need to be very comfortable with the team that run the company that we're going to invest. So these are the main drivers, aside from all the other analysis criteria that we look at, that we need to be very comfortable to recommend an investment.
And what kind of companies do you work, do you invest?
Technology companies in general, specifically technologies for education, healthcare, internet technologies, O2O, which is online to offline, financial services, but we look technology in general, but specifically these sectors.
What about their return in capital?
Yeah, the return is directly correlated to the risk we take. So the smaller the companies, we expected a higher return. The bigger the companies, the more mature the companies, it's a safer bet, but with potential lower returns. Brazil still offers great returns for the right opportunities because we are one of the few players in the space that we are operating. We look for mid-growth tech companies that are making between $5 and $25 million a year. And these companies, they are in an underserved sector. They don't have access to credit or debit. So we are able to provide them with a capital injection at reasonable valuations. We're not competing for assets at this stage. And at the exit point, when these companies have grown and performed over the years, then we're able to have potentially very good exits, because that's the point where the good funds, the big funds are operating.
And Thiago, how many companies go for you asking for money?
Well, hundreds and hundreds. As I said before, we have a very low investment rate. So we invest in less than 1% of the companies that we analyze. And so it's just the math. If we're going to invest in 10 companies, we need to look at 1,000 companies. So far, we have analyzed around 2,500 companies.
You talked about team. How do you identify a good team in a company?
Yeah, that's the tough part of the analysis, because a lot of the analysis must be qualitative, because how can you rate a person or a professional? And plus, you need to analyze the alignment between the founders and the co-founders and the managers. And also, if there are other investors already in the company, what's the alignment between the investors among themselves, the investors and the management team? What kind of view do they have? Are they really into the company? They have the drive to take this company to the next level? Do they have retention mechanisms such as stock options? Or is the company at risk of losing them? So it's a very broad analysis, and this requires a lot of interviews, a lot of interactions. It's not only looking at their curriculums and doing a background check. It's much more complex than that.
And what's your expectation for the economy in this second semester and for next year?
Yeah, the economy, I think, is going to continue very volatile, because every day is a new day in Brazil. We have big headlines every day here regarding the corruption scandal, the political situation. We have an impeachment process ongoing. So for the next 2-3 months, we still don't know who's going to be our president until 2018. So if the current president remains, it's possible, and the market is already pricing this, that Brazil should get back on track, and by the end of next year, we could have positive GDP. But it's going to be very volatile. The FX rate is going to be very volatile during these days. We're supposed to have inflation coming down, because the current president is trying to drive some reforms in order to tackle the economic problems. The market so far is optimistic, but we're still very tiptoeing the opportunities. Everybody has raised the bar, so we're not giving money to any opportunity right now. Everybody's taking better care of the investments. So we have better hopes for Brazil, but we're still not 100% confident about it.
And can you describe to us this environment for investing, especially in startups?
Yes, Brazil is different from, for instance, the US and China. These are the two main hubs of VC investment as far as number of companies and availability of resources. Brazil is a much more conservative and embryonic market. We don't have a lot of VC funds. We don't have that much capital available. Consequently, the companies in Brazil, they have to learn to grow with little money. So they have to reach break-even faster. They have to generate positive EBITDA faster. I think this is very important, because if you take the Brazilian entrepreneur and put him in other markets, he'll have a very good chance to succeed, because he learned the hard way with little resources and having to make the most out of whatever he has.
Okay, recently you went to China. Can you tell us about this trip?
Yes, we came to some very good conclusions about the trip to China. I was there for 17 days. I visited Beijing, Shanghai, and Hong Kong. And aside from very few exceptions, they don't have the formula, the magic formula. Everything they have there, we have here. The main differences are the size of the market, which is amazing. When we are here, we think we know how big the market is. Once we arrive there, it's much bigger. And the other conclusion is that they have a lot of financial resources available. So this caused the VCs and the funds to lower the quality of the investments because there was so much money available and they had so much pressure from their LPs that they started investing in not so good opportunities, and a lot of them proved not to be the right opportunities and have already succumbed or went into consolidation and haven't been able to perform the way it was expected by the managers.
And plans for next year?
We are continuing to investing with the third fund. We're gonna divest the first two funds. So it's gonna be a very busy year for us, but we're very excited.
Thiago, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Luciene Miranda to Dukascopy TV.